This is episode 8 of What's Been Better. This week, we're talking about reclaiming our time. This is a message to all who have been spoken over, ignored, taken advantage of, taken for granted, or had their time wasted by others. It's our time to take back our power. A heads up to the moms, mother-in-laws, and anybody else with sensitive ears. We cuss a little, so excuse me, baby. All right, let's get into it. All right, so you ready?
Yes.
It's always good to get on here with you. I always feel better. I kind of am like waiting to talk to you sometimes, even though we talk sometimes during the week. It just, I don't know. I was waiting on this one. So what's been better, Lori?
Girl, my life has been
Right.
better. I'm learning so much about me and how I respond to things. And I realized that I got work to do. I
We all
realized
do.
that I realized I get tired. It's so interesting to even say that, like I get tired, but no, really, like I got tired in session the other day.
Like
Yes.
in a session with someone, like you felt your energy
Mhm.
decrease.
Well,
Wow.
it was because the night before, not necessarily getting enough sleep,
Mm.
but really feeling it. And usually I can power through. But this particular week and yesterday was rough. So I just drank some water and I said, Lori, you only have an hour. So I was able to do that. But just realizing, so what was better is just recognizing you do need to get the kind of sleep that you put in for, like 6 or 7 hours, however much, and recognize that if you don't, you're going to feel it.
Oh yeah. Like I
Yeah.
have a minimum sleep time.
Yeah.
If it
But
doesn't
I'll
happen, it's over with.
absolutely. Yeah. And so my boundaries too, I recognize that I have to really set my boundaries and allow people to deal with their own issues and family. I'm speaking kind of like family now because
Mm-hmm.
family can push your buttons.
Tap
you know,
dance on
you
them.
know, right. So what's been better for me is that I did not allow my family members to push my buttons in such a way that I was so affected by it. I was able to, you know, put my foot down and be okay with it. And it was
So
beautiful.
I was listening to somebody, avid TikToker over here, So, and I love TikTok for the motivational piece of it, not just for like the dances and the jokes. And somebody was saying that the boundaries that you set are for you, not for the other person.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They are for you to say, this is what I'm not going to allow, instead of saying, you don't get to do this or don't you do this. It was more, I am telling myself or I'm setting an expectation for myself, not necessarily a boundary or a parameter, but I'm setting an expectation that I have to live up to that.
I saw some perspective. I
Yeah.
like that. I
Yeah,
like that.
it was different, a different perspective on it. But
Yeah, I
yeah.
like it. It works for me.
Mm-hmm. That's good. That's good.
Yes. So what's been better for you?
For me, it has been a week of me feeling powerful.
Mm-hmm.
We had a tree that lost a very large branch in our front yard. And the first day, my husband and I are out there and we're cutting it up and we're like, trying to get all of it out of the middle of the yard because we knew the lawn guys were coming and we are just like, oh, this branch is so big. And
Right.
I knew I was going to keep the wood to use it for the garden.
Mm-hmm.
So the next day, of course, people are being forced to go back into the office. So I was by myself. The next day, I was like, that's it. I'm going to give myself like 2 hours. I'm going to cut this branch up. Cut the whole branch up that I could, like the parts that I could like handle myself, which was almost the majority of it. Stacked them up, put them in the wheelbarrow, wheeled them to the back.
You better go ahead.
Wait, it gets better. A friend of mine, a little while ago, they were doing a renovation in our house and they're just around the corner. And she said, hey, you repurpose everything. We got this huge storage unit. It's just like all these shelves, very big. They're like 6 feet wide, 7 feet wide. Um, do you want the parts to this? Do you want this wood? So I was like, yeah, and stacked it up in the garage, didn't use it. Used some of the pieces last year to like keep the bags and the pots off the ground. Didn't do anything else with the wood. So there's like a 12-foot gap in my garden that just had nothing. There was no pots to put there. There was nothing. So you know what? I'm gonna take that wood and I'm gonna build a garden bed, a raised bed. I'm gonna take the wood that was out front that I chopped up and I'm gonna put it as filler in there. And I'm gonna make my own soil. And I'm gonna have a garden bed that is instead of having everything in pots. So I did one with the help of my husband. I did the second one kind of, he was like in and out. And on Tuesday, I think it was, I built one completely by myself.
What?
He was at work. She texted and said, "Hey, I saw your video about you building the garden beds. That's really awesome. There's more wood."
Whoa.
I said, "Can you drop the wood off?" The first time I was like, "I'll come get it," but I was like, I don't have the space. I don't have the car. I can't do that. So she was like, "That's fine. I'll drop it off." She dropped it off, went to Home Depot, got the brackets, chopped up a little bit more wood, lugged some more compost over, and built a whole nother bed by myself. And I made a video to myself to say, "Self, don't you say that you can't do shit else."
Exactly. I want pictures. I'm not a TikToker, so I don't know where you posted it. I don't know if you did.
I'll send you pictures. I'll send you pictures. But yeah, it
I'm
was it
I'm
was
so loving.
incredible.
You're so inspiring, girl. That's it. That's inspirational.
So now I have over, so it's two 4-foot beds and a 6-foot bed. So I got 14 feet worth of garden beds now, plus all my pots, plus I've repurposed 3 sinks and a old metal cabinet, like shelf cabinet thing to make into a
Wow.
pizza garden. Because I will repurpose anything because I'm cheap.
I love it.
When you don't have a real job, you will figure it out. But yeah, I was
Well,
like, that's it.
okay.
I'm gonna have a
Okay.
garden. I'm gonna have
Well,
a real garden.
that's lovely. You're again, that's inspirational. Oh
You
my
know what
goodness.
it is though? It doesn't even have to be inspirational. I'm glad that it is, but for me, it is just proof.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think so much of this journey for me is just proof, proving to myself that I'm enough,
Mm-hmm.
that I'm capable,
Mm-hmm.
that my time is, as my mother in law says, a currency that I know is valuable,
Mm-hmm.
and that anybody can do anything.
Yes.
It's a matter of, do you want to use the time, find the time, spend the time to do the thing?
Yes. Yes. You're right. And because you said that, and it's interesting because we just do things from day to day and we don't necessarily think the of it as important. But
Mm,
in my back, I have like in my backyard, it's pretty big backyard, but further in the back there's this bush that's there. And I like to look in my backyard. I like to look outside and just just be thankful for just the being out there.
mm-hmm.
So I said I want to get that bush taken out. So we got some estimates and it was roughly like $5,000 to cut it all down and just level it.
What is
And I
this bush
said,
made out of?
well, just a lot of little bitty pine trees,
Mm,
a lot of vines. It might be a stick of briars, like little vines. It could be a little bit of poison ivy. I don't know, but it's just little bitty trees
mm-hmm.
and bush back there. So I just said I'm going to do it myself,
Yeah,
a little bit by a little bit. I've been cutting it down, and
that's all you
so
could do.
we're gonna have several bonfires. But but it felt good because, based on what you're saying, you're right to know that you can do it. I'm not
Yeah.
paying somebody $5,000 to do something I actually can do, you know.
And I think it's also, again, like the time situation. Since you're reclaiming your time, you will make time to do it. I had to really let go of, things don't have to be done and complete in the same space and time.
Right,
If I set a time limit, I will do it in that space and time. If it
right.
doesn't get done, I've now finally begin to let go of it. It's okay
Mm-hmm.
to not do, or to not overextend, or you know for someone who, I'm not going to say suffers from perfectionism, because I don't necessarily always think that perfectionism is a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
To be able to do something perfect,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody knows that you're able to do that thing perfect, even if it was just one time,
Right.
I think it's a feat. I think it's a good thing. I think it becomes a negative when that's how you're living and dying, you know?
Exactly.
So to say to myself, all right, I'm going to build these beds, I'm going to do this thing. And it took a couple days to do the first two, and only took me hours to do the third one. It was like, okay, I've learned. Okay, I've tweaked. Okay, I'm figuring out. And it was like, it became a challenge and a puzzle to me. It was like, can I do this? And I was like, yeah, you could do it. You could figure it
Wow.
out. Figure it
Exactly.
out. And then just standing back and looking at it and being like, oh no, you did a good job.
Isn't that
You
beautiful?
did that.
So,
Yeah,
so many lessons in that.
there are.
One, you know, I'm getting practice because by the third time, you were able to do it in a shorter time than
Hmm.
those other two times.
With no help.
Am- Amazing, right? And so that's the thing. And I think it's about practice, continue, and also motivate yourself like you did.
I
Encourage yourself.
I learned a lot of lessons in motivating myself in the last 8 days. Actually, since our last recording, it has been a lot of like practicing, telling myself, all right, keep going. Okay, you did
Exactly.
that. All right,
Right.
good.
Right.
Okay, good job. It because I was not, there we go. I'm not, but I was not that person. I'm
Mm.
becoming that person.
How awesome is that? And I'll just add and ask you what difference is that making?
It's filling the cup. I've had this conversation this week. It's filling the cup by myself.
Right.
It's giving myself the fuel. It's not
Exactly.
waiting on anybody else to deplete themselves for me,
Exactly.
which is
Girl.
huge.
Exactly. It really is huge. And I hope people recognize that they can do the same thing for themselves. You
Yeah.
don't have to reach outside yourself to validate yourself or to
Yeah.
get the things that you need, because then you'll be constantly having to seek outside validation when the validation is always within.
Right. Right. It's in thinking about this episode, for me, it was really like trying to figure out how to reclaim who I really am,
Mm-hmm.
while in tandem confirming who I really am.
Absolutely.
I think a
So,
lot of time is spent like pleasing other people, doing for other people. I've said so much in the first couple of episodes of like, I'm a people pleaser, I'm a performer, I'm gonna do these things because that's all I know.
mm-hmm.
But because now I know a lot more, just in this little bit of time, I know more, I can do more, I know better, I'm gonna do better.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
That's lovely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, how do you feel when we were saying like, okay, this is the episode, this is what we're gonna do? What else were you feeling in terms of like reclaiming your time?
So there was a trigger. I got triggered,
Mm,
and the thought reclaiming my time came right on. Right. And it was
okay.
just yesterday. And family members were coming into town. And as the conversation started to ensue, it was this feeling of this entitlement, that came upon me. Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, somebody, one of your family members, they're feeling like they're entitled to your space. They're entitled to your time. And it brought me back to when I was a young person, in my teens and in my young adulthood, when I felt compelled to give, when I felt
Mm,
compelled to just share, or, oh, this is what's been asked of you. Well, surely you're supposed to do it.
right.
But now I'm grown.
Are
And it,
you the
and it
baby?
I'm the baby.
Okay. All right.
Right. And so from
Baby.
from right. And so, exactly, right. And when you're the youngest, I don't know who else could relate other than us being the youngest, feeling like you're supposed to do this, that word, which is a
Mm-hmm.
thing for me, right? Reclaiming my time. Like it just came.
Yeah.
It just came to me. Maxine said, I'm reclaiming my time. Her voice
Mm-hmm.
came in my in my ear. And
Yeah.
I was just like, I can say what's there. I can say what's there for me right now in the moment and not go back and revert back to this child likeness of myself. No, I'm a grown woman and no, it's no.
Mm.
And this is what's going on right now for me without apology, lovingly. I'm not dogging you out, but I'm just saying, no, this is how it's going to be for me in my time in my space. And it felt so liberating.
Something that you said just kind of like dug in me a little bit about when you're younger, especially as the baby, you feel like surely you have to do those things.
Mm-hmm.
My little tweak to that was always that not only did I have to do those things, but I had to do them well.
Okay.
So here it's beginning to make me understand like where the perfectionism started to seep in
Mm-hmm.
was
Mm-hmm.
like
Right.
get it right the
Right.
first time,
Mm-hmm.
get it right so well that like maybe you can do it again later.
Right.
Um, and I think also it comes from like a scarcity brain situation of like there's a lack of resources in some way, shape, or form. So you got to make do with whatever you have. So do it right the first time because there's not going to be enough to do a second one.
Yes.
You have a set of fabric and you cut it and it's like, ooh, I should have measured 4 times because now I'm short.
Right.
So
And the
it's
lack
always
is
that.
saying I don't have the money, so I can't go get
Right.
anymore. So I'm shit out of luck.
Exactly. Exactly. So I think that's kind of in how the garden beds came along and how just the garden in general. Um, I didn't automatically go to the store when I said I wanted to make a pizza garden. I didn't automatically go to like a Home Depot. I went to a builder supply store, like a builder surplus of
Mm-hmm.
like these are the old things that I've been taking out of buildings, the leftovers, the offcuts, the battered, bruised. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, nobody's using these sinks. I'm going to use them as garden beds. This makes sense to me. They're that huge.
Really?
They're industrial sized sinks.
Oh wow.
I
That's
can plant a
huge.
whole crop of corn in these sinks because they're deep
Mercy.
and they're wide.
Look
But
at you,
this is
MacGyver.
the way I'm but this is the way I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking
Mm-hmm.
three industrial sized sinks for $15. Them sinks are like 40, 50, 60, $100 a piece. And here's a surplus where I can get three of them for $15.
Huge. That's huge.
But I'm saying this to tell people to expand their imagination.
Absolutely. Really think outside the box.
Yeah, because I think we get so limited. It's a quote that I want to talk about this for sure. I want to talk about the confirmation hearings of Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson, but it's something that was said today by Congresswoman Joyce Beatty about she took a quote from Mae Jemison, one of the most amazing scientists and Black astronauts to ever walk this earth. But
Mm-hmm.
she said, never limit yourself because of others' limited imaginations. Never limit others because of your own limited imagination.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel like for myself, I did it a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody else had a limited idea. So I was like, no, 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 I can't do it because
Mm-hmm.
they said I couldn't do it, or
Right.
they said that they couldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
So surely, if this person who I'm holding in a certain regard can't do it, there's
Mm-hmm.
no way I'll be able to do it.
Right. It's so subtle too. It's so
It
subtle,
is.
Sylvia, when it hits. Because you almost don't hear it coming
Mm-hmm.
in, and then the moment that you accept that limitation. And when you accept it, it just stops everything. And so
Yeah.
now we're keen to that.
Mm-hmm.
We are hearing it more, and that's the practice. The more you
Yeah.
practice hearing that limitations coming in, and it's not, again, it's not to judge, but you recognize. My daughter just told me this morning about one of her aunts. limiting her thought process, or attempting based on her limited view.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you sure you're going the right direction?
It's that. It's that. It's that question. It's the question of like the question inside the question that makes you question yourself. I don't know how to better put it, but it's like that little tweak that you hear, like, wait, maybe I'm not sure.
Right. Well, and so what I've learned is when someone does that and they say that, it's an invitation to buy in to their limited view, their limited imagination, but you don't have to accept the invitation. And
No.
so, right. And so in the line of no one makes you do anything, right? No one causes you to do anything. It's the accepting of the invitation to limit yourself.
Mm-hmm.
We just deny it.
I think if you accept it, you're almost accepting defeat.
Perhaps,
And I
but you
don't
definitely
necessarily want to start out defeated anymore. Like I don't want to do that.
absolutely. And of course.
Right? Right. Cause it's like you already lost if you're already listening to everyone else. And it's another one of those moments where I'm processing stuff in real time. So bear with me. But I feel like spending so much time performing
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
spending so much time not putting my mask on first, not serving myself, not thinking about myself, I was limiting the possibilities of doing more for those people.
Mm-hmm. Right. Right.
Not even just doing more for myself, but I was limiting the gifts that I could have given to others because I was letting that one little question, that one little thought, or that other person's own defeat me.
Mm-hmm.
And it was
Right.
just, yeah, I've just been like thinking more and more about that. As these confirmation hearings have been going on like this week, I've just been thinking more and more about like people being limited
Mm-hmm.
intentionally, unintentionally, aggressively,
Mm-hmm.
nice, nasty, like overtly and covertly. I've just been thinking about how we are limited when we don't have to be.
Right. Well, expound upon that. What do you
So I
what
don't know if you've been watching the hearings.
nope.
Like I'm still caught up in like a news cycle. Things, current events still there's still some kind of pleasure that I take out of it.
Okay.
And this is a historic moment.
Exactly.
Agree with the judge, don't agree with the judge. You like the Supreme Court, you don't like the Supreme Court. Like this is a moment. It's a time to be alive right now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we're talking about a black woman who is on paper more qualified than everyone else on the court.
Mercy.
Like ticks every box. Boxes that other people have not even thought about ticking. She's ticking.
Mm.
But the manner in which she has been questioned, belittled, talked over, like we said at the beginning, um, just picked apart for somebody else's petty agenda, for somebody else's fear. I think a lot of this is fear, the way that she's been talked
Oh,
to.
absolutely.
It's fear of seeing somebody who you have tried to hold under the water for so long. You are scared now that they are Olympic caliber level of swimmer. You're scared now that they are going to have more control than you
Mm.
could ever imagine. Because
Right.
again, you have a limited imagination.
Mm-hmm.
So she has been, I mean, just railed for her beliefs, for past cases, for being a public defender and having to defend people that were terrorists. They got the label of terrorists, but you're a public defender. You don't choose who you defend.
Right.
That's not how
Right.
that works. Um, so just stuff of like you just picking apart this person, but it's really you're not capable. You didn't take this path. You didn't imagine this for yourself.
Right.
And instead of this person being able to ascend to this role, you will do any and everything to basically make America lose.
Mm-hmm.
This is a moment for us to, I feel like, do just a little bit better.
Absolutely.
Like we're talking about somebody who You don't have to agree with her policies or her judgments on other cases. You don't have to agree with her family. You don't have to agree with that she's in an interracial marriage. You don't have to agree that she has interracial children. You don't have to agree on any of that. What we have to agree on is that she has lived experiences that are shared with however many others.
Exactly.
Who have no voice on the Supreme Court. And that's wild to me. Like they just signed the Crown Act for our hair, for Black women to have and be able to wear their hair as it grows out of their head. And it was barely passed. It didn't go through like the daylight savings time act. That went through like nobody had an argument, nobody had anything to say. But because we're talking about Black people's hair, we need to have conversations. We need to have debate.
Right.
But now there's a possibility of someone who has sister locks being able to sit on the Supreme Court.
Mercy.
I venture a guess that we're not going to have the same issues when somebody who has locks, just like I have locks, is sitting on the Supreme Court.
Right. Right.
I mean, I hope. That's my hope. Because you never know.
Right.
You
but
really
this is a
never know.
right. But it is a defining moment in time. I think it's extremely powerful. And since I didn't see it, I'm curious to know, and I'm sure listeners, some of them maybe have seen it and some not, but how did she respond? Because in my imagination, I can imagine that she has been coached on how to respond to the worst critic. I would hope that that's the case and that she was able to respond to these ignorant people, because that's what they are.
Yeah.
She was able to respond to them with taste and with her classy, intelligent self. How did she respond?
She kept it together. She kept it together in the face of like some of the most dogged, disgusting, ridiculous. At one point, Senator Durkin, who is over the Durbin, I'm sorry, who is over the proceedings, over the committee, was just like, this is a test case for all kinds of conspiracy theories. Because y'all are just coming up with whatever you want to come up with at this point. Like it was
that's
wild.
Okay.
Yeah. And at one point, I mean, a couple of senators, I'm not going to give them any breath. You can go back and watch the videos, but you could easily figure out who they are. They would not let her answer the questions that they were asking. So to the point, finally, after like minutes and minutes and minutes of them belittling her and talking over her, Senator Durbin was like, you don't have to answer. They're not going to let you answer in the first place. You don't even have to answer that. So it was also good to see white men check other white men. And I don't want to make it a whole black or white issue, but at the end of the day, that's what this is. Well, it just is.
Yeah, but it's also ignorance versus intelligence, basically.
For sure.
Or someone being awake as opposed to someone still being asleep, or someone being has come into this knowledge of, okay, we have grown, we have come to a better place in life, and some people who are trying to stay in the status quo of things. So I'm glad that was a check there, because really that's not her fight.
It's not. And I feel like a lot of this is not going to come out right, but anybody, I don't care. I feel like a lot of this fight didn't have to happen the way that it happened, because the president should have never made an announcement that I'm going to only pick a black woman. He could have just done this. It could have looked like a coincidence. You know what I'm saying? He never had to make an announcement. He could have done his old background work, picked up his list of people, said, y'all go check out these people and come back to me with who you think is a good person, who's qualified, who's going to work out. But because he got up and made an announcement in front of all the people who get inflamed by the two words black woman, it was already going to be an issue.
Right.
I think a lot of this is theatrics. I think a lot of this is performative on both sides. And I think a lot of this is unnecessary for the work that needs to be done.
Right.
We all know that we should have somebody to represent each of us on this court.
Right.
We all know that somebody should represent all of us in Congress. Somebody should represent all of us in the presidency. Each branch should have somebody that looks like everybody.
Mm-hmm.
There should be more trans people. There should be more gay people. There should be more Black people, Asian people. All the things that make up this country, they should exist. But the fact that we have like Custer's last stand, people are trying to cling to the last little bit of power that they think they have, even though it's an illusion in the first place.
Absolutely.
I find it weird. I find
Mm.
it super weird that instead of allowing other people to join in, you feel like you're losing everything if those people get to come to the party.
Right.
They're not even worried about you. They just come in to put their 2 cents in because there's a space for them to put their 2 cents in. You can
Right.
still talk. It's really wild. So the
Well,
whole process was it was hard to watch.
is it over?
No, it's not over. I had it up behind you in the background. I'm not sure that today's are over. Today was like witnesses and approvals and um like the rating from the American Bar Association. Like it was like those parts.
Mm-hmm.
And then each side had 5 witnesses that they called upon to give like their 2 cents.
Mm-hmm.
So of course, like the Republican side was just like wild. Like, I can't believe you're making this up. And the Democratic side was like, she's qualified, she's qualified, she's qualified again, and she's even more qualified. Like, give her the job. Stop playing.
Right.
So
So is this hearing to try to keep her from being confirmed, or is she already confirmed and they're just
no.
mad about it?
She's not confirmed yet. This hearing is to say whether or not they're going to bring her to a vote for the full body of the Senate to confirm.
Okay.
So if you know anything about like how this whole process works, it is amazing that we are at this step.
Mm-hmm.
Because when Merrick Garland, who should have been a Supreme Court justice, was up for confirmation, they did not even give him these hearings.
Okay.
This was the whole President Obama is a lame duck. He doesn't have the rights as president to elect anybody. We should wait till the next president.
Mm.
And they knew that was going to be Trump. So this is why Merrick Garland is not on the SCOTUS, because he didn't even get to this step. They would not even hear this part.
Wow.
So because good job, Georgia voters. We voted in who we voted in.
Mm-hmm.
The Senate is majority Democratic. The Democrats now have the lead, and they take the liberty of saying, oh, no, we're having this hearing.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to get this done. Right. You know, that whole bit. But we would not be here had we not all voted or participated in the process. And I know some people are not fans of voting, not fans of the system. I get that. Mm-hmm. But while we're here and while this system is in repair, we got to do something.
Right. And I'm glad we're doing it.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a good idea she's a good idea on paper is what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. I hope that what is on paper is translated when she gets into office. Like fingers crossed.
Right. Like she becomes the person that we're seeing.
I mean, she's got to be the anti Justice Thomas. She has to.
Please.
I mean, fingers crossed. Yeah. But she has to, in order for us to have that counter narrative that we get so much with him of like, well, he's Black.
And
not all kinfolk are kinfolk.
Right. And ultimately, my hope, and I think sometimes I can be I can be lofty in my thinking, but my hope is that we don't see color anymore. We just see people, and that we just see either right or wrong, right? Because I really believe that this is what this whole thing is about. It's not color. I think that's the biggest smoke screen, the biggest I have a lack of words, but it's I think we've been to think that we've been programmed to think that it's a white or Black thing. It's not a white or Black thing.
Are you saying that it's not totally, or are you saying that it's not at all?
I don't think it is at all because we bleed red, we shit, we drink water, we do all these things together. Now there are cultural uh backgrounds that are a little bit different, but black or white, like Asian, Spanish, or you know, Irish, or whatever that is, we're still people. We're still human, right? And we're still, either we're going to do good or we're not going to do good. And I think that is the actual um, thing we need to be focused on. So when you think about these courts, is this young lady, is this woman, is she going to be for the right? Is she going to speak what's going to be for the rights of people, and not get pulled into a space of lying, or the ways that, like this good old boy type of scenario, and not speak for what's truth? That's my whole point.
Okay, a whole bunch of things to unpack here. So, um, okay, number one, let me just start from the bottom and work my way back. So I hope so. I hope that that's what she's going to be for. I think that's what I said before. Is like what she is on paper, how her writing, and like what her opinions are when she's in her writing for her decisions. I hope so.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a black or white thing? I wish that it wasn't. I will put it like that.
Right. And that's why I say
I
this is
wish that it wasn't. The
my
programming, I get. The conditioning, I get.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we are all people. Yes, we all come from the same, Eve gene in Africa. I get that whole part. We have walked this line this far. It's very difficult to turn around and erase it.
It is. It is. But when you think about voting, because as you mentioned voting, that's chipping away at this big rock of the system of racism, right?
Yeah.
So every little thing that we're doing, even this podcast, how we're thinking differently, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're learning how to be our best selves and hoping that other people will want to be their best selves too. That's another chipping away at this system of things. And
Yeah.
that's the overall arching hope that everybody, and I'm not going to say everybody, because you got that group of people who don't, they like status quo. They like how things are right now.
Yeah.
They like one group of people being marginalized and trampled upon, and
Yeah.
and they
I'm,
like to be in higher positions, and ultimately that can't last.
and I've been saying for years, like, this should be the Matrix. We should call up the architect and we should blow this up and like start over,
Exactly.
because the stuff that we have going doesn't make any sense.
Not even.
I'm still trying to figure out why the Constitution hasn't been like reworked a few times. Like, it doesn't make any sense. So, but while we are in it, and while we don't have enough people to change,
Mm-hmm.
we have to do something.
Mm-hmm.
Is my whole part. Is like, is a moment of like, do we just sit here? Do we just take it? Do we ignore this? Or do we get active? Do we pay
Right.
attention? Do
Mm-hmm.
we have an opinion? Do we talk about it at least? Do we try to educate ourselves about what's happening?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think a lot of times people get so caught up in, yeah, the status quo of like, you can't imagine anything better, so you just tap out.
Mm-hmm.
And we can't tap out because
No.
people are waiting on you to tap out. And I think this doesn't just apply to like politics and voting. I think it applies to like life in general,
You're right.
jobs, school. People are waiting on you to tap out because they want that place. They want that space. They want to do whatever the thing is that you're doing, that you were doing just perfectly fine, I think. But yeah, I don't know. It's a weird thing.
Well, I think it goes back into our thing for today of reclaiming our time.
Mm-hmm.
It's time. it's time to get our power back,
Yeah.
which this judge, being confirmed, is a part of reclaiming our time.
Mm-hmm.
It's a part. And I think it would be beautiful for that to be the case, because it's going to help other people. Every time one person does well, it encourages someone else to do that too.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
right. And I hope it's in line of, like you said, on paper, that she lines up with what she, on paper, how it looks, that she speaks and acts from that same place. I would love for that to be the case. And I hope that's going to be the case,
Yeah.
because change is about to take place. Change is happening as we see it.
Okay, I have to ask you about something. So you just said like when somebody does something that I guess kind of inspires other people to do the same or more. What about the people who are going first, or the people who are have these ideas of grandeur and they're just like, you know what? I'm the baddest at whatever. I'm the greatest at whatever. And people are like, how are you saying these things?
Mm-hmm.
Like it he's very controversial right now.
Mm-hmm.
I am talking about old Kanye West. I am
Okay.
not talking about Ye. I'm not talking I'm talking about the Yeezus album. That's where I stop. That's where I draw the line. We're
Right.
talking when he just comes out with the shoes, when he's doing like the amazing artwork, when he's like starting to do clothing. Like I'm talking about that Kanye. I'm not talking about now, everyone. If you're listening, don't
Mm-hmm.
turn your ears off. Hear me out. Kanye 2014, 2015 Kanye is like peak creative
Mm-hmm.
and on the cusp of like doing some things that no one had thought of.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you ever seen him in concert, but top 3 concerts I have ever been in. And I say in because it was so immersive.
Mm-hmm.
There were like all these screens, and you just felt like you were in the scenes that he was like portraying.
Wow.
It wasn't just he's on stage and he's like shouting the music at you and you're just feeling the music. It was it was like a 3D moment, a 4D moment.
Right.
So I'm talking about that Kanye. That Kanye, there's an interview with him with a British guy for BBC. And Kanye goes, Kanye just went on like, I'm not gonna call it a rant, but he goes on like this talk. And at one point he's like, I'm a god. That's how like powerful I am. I feel like I'm a god. And people were like, yo, this man has lost it. But amongst all of the things that he's saying, amongst saying I'm a god, he's also talking about like he's just this creative and he doesn't want to be put in this box of like, I can only produce music, I can only rap. He was like, I want to do shoes, I want to do architecture, I want to do clothes, I want to like break out of this box and I want to do things that people aren't thinking of. And people were turning him down left and right and being like, you're crazy. How do you what do you feel like is the advice to give to people who are on the cusp of doing something that is so different? Like they might be the black sheep of the family and they're breaking the generational curse. They're not doing the same thing that's always been done in their family, but they're getting persecuted for it. What's your advice of like just keep going? How do you keep going in the midst of all that?
I think it's an inner thought process that's taking place,
Mm-hmm.
because when you hear that, and I'm a black sheep, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for me, and I can only speak for myself, there was this inner push to say you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
You can do it. And then there are times when you would feel, based on what you hear, because that's that limited imagination inviting you to join in, right? To say
Mm-hmm.
you can't do it. The push is there. And so someone just gave me a TikTok video to watch about being delusional.
Yo, I'm gonna drop actually for the listeners. I'm gonna drop the first interview that I'm talking about with Kanye. I'm gonna drop another one that I think is even more poignant after you make this point. And I'm gonna drop this TikTok video. I think the young lady's name is Kiera about being delusional that carried me through this week. But yes,
Right.
go
Yes.
ahead.
So, but in line with that, you can call it whatever you want, but it's this inner knowing. and it's the inner voice, which he says he's a God. Okay, I'm not mad at that, right? Because I believe God dwells in us,
Mm.
right? He doesn't dwell outside of us, he's inside of us. And so if that's the case, and he gives us the ability to create, and we're like our creator, so then we can create as well. And
Mm.
so as long as you stay in that space of tapping into that source, it's nothing that you can't do. You can do all things,
Yeah.
right? And so that's what he's saying. But people in their limited imagination, they can't get down with it. Why? Because of fear. Fear
Yeah.
keeps people from even imagining what they can possibly do. They don't have faith, they don't have hope, they don't have trust. And God bless you, is what I can say about that. I can say some other stuff, but you better go ahead, Kanye, and all the people who are black sheeps or who want to do the thing that is so impossible to somebody else's eyes, but they view that they can do it. And so keep doing it. And so if you would say any kind of advice, is to trust your gut.
Mm.
Practice trusting your gut, because your gut will guide you.
Yeah.
I believe your gut is God. I believe that with everything in me. Your gut is your creator. And that's
Mm.
why it's so important to be able to trust your gut. Because if you're trusting other people or you're listening to other people, you don't know if their thought process is limited, but you can best believe that nobody's thinking about you per se. They're thinking
Mm.
about themselves, and their
Yeah.
perspective is always leading out. They're not speaking from your perspective. They're speaking from their own. So if they feel that you can't do it, they're thinking they can't do it, and they're projecting that on you.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that for sure because literally like a year later after that album came out, which was like a great album, and the concert, like I said, was great. And he starts doing the fashion and he starts doing all these things. People were like, he calls it leveling.
Mm.
He would be in a situation as somebody would, try to say something or crack a joke on him or, try to make him not as big as he was
Mm-hmm.
to bring him back down to their level. And he calls it
Mm.
leveling. And I
Oh,
thought
okay.
about that in you have all these ideas and you want to do all these things that no one has done before. And it's overwhelming to you to be this creative. To
Mm-hmm.
me, at one point, it was very overwhelming. I would be crying
Mm-hmm.
because I had so many ideas that I couldn't sleep.
Mm-hmm.
I would write stuff down or I would plot out things or I would, okay, I'm going to build this, I'm going to do this thing. But it was just so many ideas because I had taken all the things that were occupying my time and I was reclaiming it with
Mm-hmm.
freedom of not being in a classroom, not having to work for someone, not
Right.
doing all these things that I had to do and trying to
Mm.
do the things that I wanted to do. And it became overwhelming,
Wow.
which is scary,
Mm-hmm.
but it's also freeing.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a lot of it would become, yeah, you have all these people who wouldn't do, couldn't do, shouldn't do, but they don't want you to do either. So they
Mm-hmm.
want you to be on their level. And I understood that when he was like, oh no, they just try to level you.
Mm-hmm.
When they can't figure it out, they'll level you.
Right. Right. But as I was telling my daughter earlier, when I mentioned to you that one of her family members was basically inviting her to think about their limited imagination, I said sometimes you can't tell everybody your dreams and your hopes because it's too bright for other
Mm.
people. It just burns their eyes. And so if your vision is so bright, sometimes you might want to keep it to yourself. Or
Yeah.
people who really motivate you, go to it, go knock it out.
Yeah.
Because listen, if you don't, okay, well, you found out that it didn't work, but you won't know until you try.
Yeah. I think it's also too like interacting with people. Um, when you want to share these ideas or you want to do something different, like perfect story, my mother-in-law. She does not do time wasted. Let me tell you. She will reclaim her time. So she is the queen of job interviews also. I don't know like how well practiced she is or what she has done, but she has mastered it. So it was a time when she was looking for a new job and she went to the interview and this recruiter They just didn't have their stuff together. I didn't know what the job was for real. The salary was garbage. And she had taken her lunch break to come to this interview from her previous job, like from the job that she was currently holding. So I guess whatever the person said just did not align with her. Let me tell you how this lady snatched her resume back and told the person, you wasted my lunch break. Like, she didn't even want them to call her later once they had figured it out. She was just like, you can't even afford my resume.
Right.
You don't even get the pleasure of keeping it on your desk. Like, no. I feel like it's that also of like, you're trying to do these things that are new, different, and you're interacting with people who, they don't have their stuff together. So I think that's also part of like reclaiming your time, is like not dealing with people who are wasting valuable time, because we don't know how much time we have.
Yes. And it comes from a level of confidence. That confidence snatched that paper up. That confidence said, hey, listen, I see right through you. And that is learning to trust your gut.
Yeah.
If she was timid, if she was afraid, if she wasn't sure of who she was, she would have just, maybe gone along with it. But she was somebody who knew. She knows who she is. I love that. And that's empowering. And it's inspiring. That's why I was sharing with you today. You're inspiring because there's inspiration that comes from the doing. And here you are imagining that you can do this, setting on a course, thinking outside the box, implementing the thing and doing it. And now you got pictures to show proof that you can do it.
I actually just sent you one. I sent you a picture of what the beds look like.
Okay, cool. That's inspiration, because now you invite other people to step up too. Right. And other people now can know, man, I can plant or have a flower bed with a sink. I didn't even think about that. That's huge in the depth and all of that. You're right.
And anything flat enough, anything deep enough, you can get a lot in it. Like, it all works. Let me just be here to tell you.
Exactly. And so I gotta come see it in person too. I need some tips.
Of course.
But yes, your mother-in-law, she's a G. You gotta tell her. I think she is awesome.
My mother-in-law and my mom are two of the baddest women on this planet. Like, I have stories of my mom kind of doing the same thing about people wasting her time. People call her into the office and you're not doing this our way. And, we want you to do it like this. And you got to take this kind of time. And my mom was the queen. She would tell me all the time, you just say, okay, and you go do it however you were going to do it in the first place.
Right. Because sometimes you don't have to go back and forth. And I'm not going back and forth with you.
Right. And I'm not wasting my time.
Right.
I'm not wasting my time with anything that you have going, because if we wanted to do it your way, we would have done it already. That would have been the only way.
Right.
I wouldn't have figured out another way.
Right. Right.
I think, the two of them, the more I have time to process and the more I have time to play back the lessons that they have taught me over this time, the better I'm getting. Because those two, man, I won the husband lottery, I won the parent lottery, I won the in-law lottery. Like,
I love that.
It's a good thing, it's a good thing once you realize it and once you put the right value behind it.
That is the key. Realizing it.
It really is. It really is.
Well, this has been great. I enjoyed this conversation today.
I did too. Like, I'm gonna drop, like I said, I'm gonna drop the be delusional clip in here for everyone, because get out here and just be delusional. Do whatever you feel like doing, because we don't know if we got 30 minutes or 30 years. Right. Do whatever it is that you fucking feel like.
Right. Whatever that goal is, that vision that you have for yourself, please stay the course and let no one discourage you. Stay the course.
Just a quick update. This episode was actually recorded at the end of March. Since that time, Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson has been confirmed as the first Black woman of the Supreme Court of the United States. What a time to be alive. Don't forget to check the description box for the links that we mentioned. And here's Kiara Lewis telling us why we should be delusional.
Be delusional. Fuck what everybody everybody talk about this whole be realistic. My key to life, the reason why I be having so much fun is I'm delusional as fuck. Bitch, a guy can literally just breathe next to me and immediately I'm like, oh my God, he was trying to clap these sheets. He trying to get me in his sheets. Like, just think about it. Who are you hurting by being delusional? Who are you hurting by thinking you are the shit? I think I'm gonna be the first millionaire in my family. Do I have proof of that? Hell fucking no. So I say again, be delusional as fuck. Like, whatever it is in life, whether you want a fucking raise, you want to be your own boss, you really want this fucking guy. Just in my head, I think every fucking body wants me or wants to be me. And if you go back to manifestation, it always says what you believe you will attract. So by you believing that you are the shit, whatever great things are coming your way, eventually it's gonna have to manifest in your real life. So be delusional, fuck this realistic. It's more fun to be delusional anyway.
That's it for this week's show. I'm Lori Scott.
I'm Sylvia Johnson, and you've been listening to What's Been Better.
A big thank you to Lagan Music Inc. for providing our music. This show is edited and produced by us with a little help from our family and friends. We love you all.
Want to talk to us about the show? Send us an email at questions@whatsbeenbetter.com or hit us up on Instagram at whatsbeenbetterpodcast.
Thanks for listening.